the Chief Secretary's response, he finally responded, I think not too long after our last episode last week, Friday. And it was interesting. I didn't hear all of it. I refrained from delving too much into the other side of the issues with regards to the contractors. I was very much wanting to hear what the defense was in his press conference for the audio recordings. And here's what he had to say, more or less, with regards to his defense on why those things were said and the recordings were made. It's time to cue this.
This audio tape that you hear is an old recording. And yes, this was a closed-door strategy session. And I will show you why the detractors, how they are just wicked. Because they very well know the nature of these conversations. And there are two reasons. In the first instance, when you have an executive, you have to explore all strategies, including those utilized by your opponents. All. And let's be real, the strategy of bringing people in who will live on Facebook and do work for you, that has been explored before us. The people who are making noise from this program with Gavin Waters and company, community partnership, what is he get paid to do? Community liaison. Not be on Facebook every day. That's what they should be doing. And walking at ground, but on Facebook every day. That's what they should get paid to do. But guess what I did? I closed it down. Look at the evidence. Look at the evidence. Show me how much people we hire to do that kind of work. So evidently, it was discussed, and evidently, it wasn't executed as discussed. Which clearly shows that this is a government that is working. You discuss all strategies, the good, the bad, the ugly, the beautiful, the indifferent, everything. You look at the possibility, you go home, you sleep on it, you get up, you come back again. And there's a reason why cabinet meetings are protected by law. There are reasons why the discussions of an executive is protected by law, because you're expected to have these raw conversations that are not expected to be heard everywhere. What the public should really be seeing is what you execute. But I'm glad this is out. I'm glad this is out, because it showed that we discuss it, we considered it, and when you look at the facts, we and hire no team know about that just on Facebook are peddling rumors. This leak, as unfortunate as it is, it proved to us the kind of colleague we had in Mr. Duke. Because I very well believe that he is the source of this leak. And I'm not sure what he hopes to achieve. But I could tell you that he was one of those who attempted to get me to pay the Warners money.
Now, the tail end of what was said there was attributing or linking Watson Duke to the Warners, that contractor in Tobago, who has been linked to the Prime Minister. My general surface level question on that is, why would Watson Duke be linked to someone financially linked or politically linked to the party that he is opposed to? And I think I would like to get the answer to that question before I would believe it's some sort of political conspiracy that Watson Duke has joined in on with the PNM. Because when we go on with the press conference, that's more or less what the Chief Secretary is saying, that the Watson Duke, the leader of the PDP, and the former deputy leader that has since withdrawn, Kezel Jackson, deputy leader of the PDP, they were involved in this great plot. And it's kind of funny when, you know, they want to attribute some grand conspiracy. Everybody's against me. Well, is the media also part of this conspiracy? Not just state media, but our other competitor stations, us here at WESN, all the other news shows and morning shows, the Tobago channels, are they part of the conspiracy? What about Tobago Civil Net? What about all of the political commentators who have asked these questions, who wanted Farley to speak about this sooner, and now that he's speaking about it, this is what we get. What we're getting is, well, we were considering all options. And this is why meetings for executives should be behind closed doors, because you don't want it to get out. Just because you consider it doesn't mean that you're going to do it. Hold on. I'm pretty sure there's a difference between the government doing something that the public might not like say the 4% offer to unions. A lot of people in the public might not like that. And until they decide to make that offer formally, they don't want those discussions coming out. Maybe somebody in that meeting or those meetings might have said, nah, let's give them 1%. They don't want that coming out. That's fine. Because all of that is talking about things, actions that are legal. What we have here is a conversation that is describing potential corruption. I'm pretty sure that's not what the protections of a cabinet meeting or an executive meeting in government was meant for. Because on principle, think about it. It may seem like a little thing, but put an even more serious crime. Yes, if it's corruption, it's low-level corruption. But what if they were talking about high-level corruption? What if they're talking about worse crimes? Should that be allowed? Should that be protected? Why? Why should I be happy that my government had to have a meeting to speak about potential criminal activity, and then eventually, they didn't say right away, we can't do this, let's just say up front, let's not do this because it would be wrong. No, that's not what they said. They considered it. How is that a defense? Oh, we considered illegal activity and corruption. We just didn't go through with it. Now, I just spoke to ASPLE. This case might be difficult to prove. It also, whether rightfully or wrongfully, might be difficult to disprove. It might be, because where are the actual facts to say that this was not done? Further on in press conference, Chief Secretary says, well, we don't have that much staff. I only have one personal staff and one person in division of finance to help me, blah, blah, blah. Where are all the people we had? We don't know. They could have been anywhere within the THA. Anywhere. You saying that we didn't hire a lot of staff does not prove anything. You're not going to have a line item on your payroll, extracurricular activities of Tobago People's Party social media propaganda. That's not going to exist. That's well implied by the recording. They get a THA job, they get an income, and then they volunteer to do this on the side. It's well implied that we're not going to see records of that. So it doesn't prove anything. Now, to be fair, it's difficult to find proof that they're guilty. And I always say innocent until proven guilty. So this is going to be one hell of a political conundrum. And I'm not entirely too sure what is right and what is wrong with regards to the final conclusion that we, citizens of TNT, but particularly those who live and work in Tobago, what they should come to conclude. But I will say this, I don't like the idea of any politician speaking in any official capacity of any sort of corruption, no matter how small it is. And then to further the excuse, well, we were considering the tactics used by our opponents. Again, I thought that the Tobago People's Party was supposed to be something different. That's the whole point of why you were elected, to not be them. But then you're like, we have to consider all tactics, even the ones used by the other side. Well, first of all, there's more to suggest that you are doing it than with the PNM. Yes, I get it. You see it all the time, and you ask, is this a plant this person commenting here that's very pro-PNM or pro-UNC or pro-whichever party. Are they a plant? Do they work? Are they just a supporter? There's no way to prove. But we do have on tape you talking about it. Unless it's a deep fake or miraculously somebody else who might have that conversation that just happens to sound like you and the Secretary of Education. We don't have anybody else on tape in the public sphere talking about these things. So I don't know if that's going to fly either, or they do it. Well, where's your proof of that? So we have to consider it. Why? Why do you have to consider corruption? Martin George, he has a video. We're not going to play it. He goes on further into it. I'll maybe get into his response to the Chief Secretary's response at a later date. But he made some of the similar points that I'm making now. One of the other things is the fact, well, look, you're considering potentially an illegal act. You're considering doing things that the other party, you claim that they do. Maybe they do it. I think they might be doing it. I have no proof. I can't say that they are doing it for sure. It's speculation. But then also you want to say, oh, there's bribery involved. And I think this goes back into what I said last week with regards to any sort of illegality of how the recording was obtained. If it was used for bribery, I'm pretty sure that should be investigated and would technically be a separate crime that does not exonerate anybody involved with this tape. It doesn't. It wasn't blackmail with something that made you look bad but ultimately had no standing in law. No, this is a tape that requires an investigation. So I find it rather peculiar that the Chief Secretary somehow thinks that if I just paint who he claims to be the messenger, Watson Duke, in a bad light, he's doing illegal things, so I am right. That's not how the adult world works. His wrong doesn't necessarily cancel your wrong. Criminals bear witness against other criminals all the time. So there's almost nothing that the Chief Secretary said that I could take with and have any sort of confidence, not only that nothing wrong was done, but that he even understands what the issue is. And the issue is, you were potentially discussing corrupt practices and considering it. That's what we know for sure, because ironically, he admitted, or rather he somewhat implied in an almost direct manner, let me put it that way, that they considered this course of action. To some degree, one could argue it authenticates the veracity of the tape. I mean, if I was a prosecutor, I would just look at this press conference and have that as part of my argument that this is a valid recording of the Chief Secretary and Secretary of Education. Now again, that is not the be-all and end-all. Still have to prove that the actual corruption was engaged, was implemented, was committed. I get that. And I'm not going to say that they should be found guilty of whatever made up or trumped up charges that we could figure out, right, and kick them out of office. Innocent until proven guilty has to be the principle that stands for the day, whether we like it or not. But the court of public opinion, what do you think? Should we crucify them in the court of public opinion? Demand elections that we call now? Or should we give them the benefit of the doubt? I am somewhere in the middle. I can't give them the benefit of the doubt. Not with that sort of excuse. I'm not comfortable with crucifying anybody on an incomplete accusation. But their defense is not helping. It's just making them look more guilty. So what am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to think?